Thank you for coming today, Jenna. Thank you for taking on this cause. I know you've survived a terrible tragedy in your family, so thank you for turning that into productive advocacy, because it's going to take a whole country to come together to fix this. Chief, question for you. I'm Montana, so not too far from you. Spent a lot of time up in your neck of the woods fighting wildfires, so familiar with Spokane and the surrounding area. What is your feeling on the northern border as far as impacting your communities with regard to fentanyl and drug trafficking?
As far as the northern border, what we're seeing is very little coming south from Canada. Almost everything we've seen that we've been able to track, once again with our federal partners, it's all coming up from Mexico along the interstates. Like I said, I-19 to I-5, or I-10 to I-5, and then I-90 into Spokane and northern Idaho. We are the urban hub of Eastern Washington, and it all spreads out from there.
Yeah, we see the same in Montana, coming up I-15 to Butte and then over. So, what interface are you seeing at all with the tribal communities and the Pinwar region as far as how they're being impacted by the fentanyl crisis?
In the tribal communities, it's a little bit more of an invisible epidemic, because, quite frankly, the tribe, for historical reasons, are far more isolated and have far less trust in the government. And so it's harder to get inroads into the tribes. And I'm speaking from my personal experience as a tribal member. I don't enforce the law on the tribes. I have no jurisdiction. But it is probably far more tragic because it's far more isolated, and it is not as well known on the tribes just because of that.
And what do you feel the way ahead is there? Obviously, we feel those same issues in Montana. We have reservation land and tribal communities all across the state, and they're dealing, with this crisis first and foremost. And the first thing I hear from our tribal leaders is the fentanyl crisis is tearing apart their communities. And, they fall into, as you well know, a very unique law enforcement construct with their sovereignty, but they still want their streets cleaned up. They still want their kids to be healthy. So given your experience in the region, what do you think are some ways ahead where we can start to thread that needle, where we can still respect the sovereignty of our tribal communities, but help them battle this epidemic and win?
I think much stronger and closer relationships with tribal authorities, local and state and federal authorities. I think we're getting there, at least in my region, in the Spokane region, with the Spokane tribe, Kalispell, Colville, all of those tribes. We're getting to a point where our relationships are getting stronger, where we understand this is a common issue that's killing all of us. It doesn't matter if you're Native or Indigenous, if you're from Spokane or if you're from OMAC. It's still going to kill you. And so we all need to come together. And I'm starting to see that collaboration and that cooperation amongst the tribal folks, the state, local, and federal as well.
Great. Thank you for making